everybody, hope your day is going good. My name is Chantel. I am a Canadian surrogate, and I get so many questions as soon as people find out that this is a surrogacy and not just, your average pregnancy. So I decided to start a video answering as many questions as I can, as well as I can, for all you guys to kind of learn new stuff about surrogacy. And as we say in the surrogacy world, nothing is TMI. So if you have any random, strange, what you would consider personal questions, feel free to ask. If I don't feel like answering, I won't. Chances are I'll answer it though. Anyways, so a lot of the time I'll be out and about and people ask me, how far along are you? Do you know what it is? They'll congratulate me, not knowing that it's a surrogacy. And usually, once they find out that this baby isn't mine and it's a surrogacy, the first question I almost always get is, how much do you get paid for that? And that's called commercial surrogacy, when you're paid as a surrogate. And in Canada, that's actually illegal. And in a few other places, I believe, it's illegal. Some states, and I believe some other countries, commercial surrogacy is legal. And you can be paid for, 30, 40, up, 60, however many thousands of dollars. In Canada, you cannot be paid. But you are compensated for any and all expenses related to the pregnancy, whether it's medications, if you have to take any time off work to go to appointments, going to appointments, your mileage, your gas, anything in excess due to the pregnancy. So basically, if it's something that you weren't paying for before, and now because you're pregnant, you have to buy maternity clothes, that kind of stuff, you're compensated for all that. So it's not costing you any money, but you're also not making any money off of it. Which in a lot of cases is not the reason why you're doing it, so it doesn't really matter. So in Canada, commercial surrogacy is illegal and you cannot be paid. And so a lot of the time, people will just be like, amazed that you're doing this just for free. And I always say that I'm in it for the outcome, not the income. It's one of my favorite little phrases. And a lot of the time they'll ask, how I got into it and all that. And it all started a while back. A friend of mine had done some egg donations, kind of same idea as a sperm donation, but for a woman you're donating eggs. And so I had done a couple of those because I'm just one of those people that love helping others in any way I possibly can. So I had done a couple of those, and then took about a year to think about it and, make sure that this is something I could really do, because it is a really big thing. You are, creating a child for somebody else, which not everybody could do, and I could totally understand that. I took my time, I thought about it, I found an amazing agency or consultant. An agency, I believe, is illegal in Canada, but a consultant anyways. Went through the whole process and got matched with a couple. It's a lot like online dating, to be honest, because you have a profile made with all your information and pictures and stuff like that, and then the intended parents, or IPs as we call them, have their profile with all their information and pictures and stuff, and you kind of go through and you talk to people, and just like online dating, you'll have multiple people that you're talking to, and as you're talking, you kind of slowly narrow it down to just one couple. And so you'll match with that couple, and the couple that I actually matched with is same-sex couple, two men from Barcelona, Spain. So they're international, which can make it a little bit tricky. We're 9 hours apart, so yeah, so having to say good morning when they're, just finishing work, or anything like that. But yeah, so a lot of the time finding out that they're from Spain will lead to the next question: will you have the baby here? Yes. The baby will be born here in Canada. I'm in Victoria, BC. They will fly out here from Barcelona, and they'll stay here. They'll fly out beforehand, before the baby is born. In some cases, the surrogate may have the baby before they get here. Usually, most surrogates and intended parents try to plan to have the baby while everyone's there, but it doesn't always happen like that, unfortunately. But yeah, so we're planning for them to fly out here before the baby's born so they can be here for the birth. And yes, they'll be in the room and all that stuff. Once you've had kids, really, there's no personal anything anymore. So yeah, and it's their baby, it's their experience. I'm just the oven. It's their bun, I'm just the oven. So yeah, so they'll be here for that, and they will have to stay for a little while after the baby's born, because even though biologically it's not mine at all, it is their baby, which we'll also get to the next question. So yeah, it's their baby and all that stuff. On paper, when it's born, it's mine. So, depending on where the baby's born, where the baby is going to, and all that stuff, the time frame could be anywhere from 10 days to 6 to 8 weeks, where you have to do paperwork for the declaration of parentage. So basically to say that this isn't my baby, this is their baby, and then they can go back home. So yeah, so there's that. And the part about it not being my baby, a lot of the time people will, say, how can you give up your baby? Your baby. Well, it's not my baby. There are two types of surrogacy. There's traditional surrogacy and gestational surrogacy. I'm doing a gestational surrogacy, but let's just say for the sake of the question, it was traditional. Traditional would mean that it's my egg and the sperm of the intended father or one of the intended fathers if it's a same-sex male couple. So yeah, in that case, biologically it would be. A lot of surrogates and intended parents will not go the traditional route, partially because for me personally it would be a lot harder, because I've done egg donation and now I'm doing surrogacy, but I don't know if I personally could do them both together, because then yes, biologically it would be mine that I'm growing for somebody else. So I don't know if I could do that. And also there's a bit of a loophole with traditional surrogacy where if the surrogate just kind of snapped at some time and decided that they, have grown too attached and they want to fight to keep the baby. As far as I'm aware, they actually would have some legal right to fight to be the mother of the child and to keep it. Obviously, there would be a lot of court involved and all that stuff, because before you ever even become pregnant, you have to have a legal contract in place for all sorts of stuff, what you can and can't do during the pregnancy, the fact that the child is not yours after, during pregnancy and after birth and all that. So to avoid this kind of stuff. But with traditional, I have heard that there is a bit of a loophole that you could possibly fight to keep the child. So a lot of people will avoid traditional surrogacy. So what I'm doing is gestational surrogacy. So the egg that they used was actually from a donor. If you have a straight couple, a man and a woman, a lot of the time they'll use the woman's egg, the intended mother, her egg, and then sperm of the intended father, and transfer an embryo. So in my case, they had an egg donor and the sperm of one of the intended fathers, and they transferred the embryo. So the baby is not biologically related to me at all. Not my DNA, anything like that. So in the end, I am not giving up my baby. I am just extreme babysitting. I'm just growing and carrying this child, and the attachment is different. Like, there is still some attachment. It's kind of like, a good friend you're hanging out with all day, every day. Gets on your nerves sometimes, kicking your bladder when you really gotta pee. But yeah, the attachment is a little bit different. And you, from before you were ever even pregnant, you knew that this baby is for this couple that you're growing it for, and that you're going to be, passing him or her over, and all of this. So I'm sure it will be hard to some extent, because it is a big change. You're pregnant, you have this baby moving around in there and all that, and you're talking to your intended parents, usually almost daily, and then once the baby is born, you're no longer pregnant, you don't have that going on, so that's a big change, and your intended parents are probably, quite busy with their new baby, as if any of you have had, newborns, so it takes up a lot of your time, so they probably won't be talking to you every day and stuff like that. So in some ways, I'm sure it will be hard. I'm sure it will be, and some women do get postpartum, but all sorts of women get postpartum, whether they're a surrogate or it's their own child, they can get postpartum. So, so if that were to happen to a surrogate, it's not necessarily anything to do with the fact that they don't have a little baby. It's just hormones changing. But yeah, so there's that part. Also, once the baby is born, a lot of the people have asked me, once that happens, do you get maternity leave? Because this isn't, it's not your baby. You're not, you don't have to stay at home. Well, in BC, I think it might be all of Canada, I'm not too sure. But anyways, you get a year of maternity leave when you have a baby. How maternity leave actually works is I think about 4 months is maternity, then the rest of the year is parental. So when you're doing a surrogacy, you can get those 4 months of maternity, and then because you didn't have, a baby of your own that you're home taking care of, you won't get the parental leave, which is fine. I don't really need that. So yes, you can get about 4 months of maternity leave here in Canada, which is great because, having a baby, whether it's a C-section or natural, is a major thing to go through for your body. So you will need time to recover, and it's also nice because you can go on maternity leave a bit sooner, because like I said, you're not going to be at home with a new baby and all that. So you could go a bit sooner, spend some time with your intended parents if they're coming from, somewhere, another country or just another part of Canada. Spend a bit of time with them beforehand, go through the whole process, and then you've got some time to recover after also. So yeah, I think that's all the questions I've got for today. But if you enjoyed the video, if you have more questions that I didn't get to, because I know there is tons out there, and like I said, nothing is TMI, too much information. So if you have any odd or awkward questions or anything like that, feel free to ask, and I will do my best to answer, because I just want to share the information and help everyone learn new stuff and kind of open your eyes to surrogacy. Whether it's for you or not, doesn't matter. You can still learn all sorts of new stuff about it. So anyways, if you do have any questions, you can comment them below, type them in there, and I'll give them a read, and probably next week I'll have a bunch more that I can answer for you. Anyways, talk to you next time.